Hello and welcome back to the Sports Sermon. I'm Dylan Staggy.
I'm Jason Gandhi.
I'm Dan Majors.
And I'm John Majors.
And we are back today to talk more fantasy football. So we have tight ends for you up today. So Gronk, one of the biggest names at tight ends. We're going to start off talking about him. Will he stay healthy, and how early should you draft him this year? Jason, what do you think?
Yeah, I know. Gronk's one of those biggest names that he always is in the first round conversation. But before we talk about what I think, we've got a caller from Indianapolis. JD, can you hear us?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey guys, it's good to be on the show.
Yeah, so what do you think about Gronk? Do you think he'll stay healthy, and how early should you draft him in fantasy football?
Well, guys, again, thanks so much for having me on. It's an honor to be on Sports Sermon. I've been a long-time listener. Let me just say that I think drafting a tight end this year is a decision that you have to make and put your pride behind you. It would be easy to say, don't draft Rob Gronkowski. He's a Patriot, especially us growing up in Indianapolis. But I think that the better decision to make would be to get Gronk early. I think he's going to stay healthy. Now, if you're like me, you can't do it. I morally cannot draft Gronkowski because he's a New England Patriot. It just doesn't fit onto my team. The guy that I'm looking for, a good replacement for Gronkowski, is Travis Kelce. 4 touchdowns, 85 receptions last year. He's a target for Alex Smith. He will be for Mahomes as well if he plays. He's got 1,125 yards just in last season. This is a guy that's doing damage up and down the field. He's also great defensively in the form of blocking. So if you can't do Gronkowski morally, I'd say Kelce.
Yeah, what do you think about Gronk's injury concerns, though, JD? Obviously, he's been hurt a lot these past few years, and honestly, it's like a 50-50 shot if he stays healthy all season. What do you think about that?
Well, any surgery can be demeaning for a player to get a surgery in any part of their body. Look at the example of Andrew Luck, who's on the PUP list, after a surgery in January. Of course, Gronkowski's had a little more time to heal in a different surgery, but I think when you get a surgery, it really affects all parts of your body and all parts of your game because you're not in the weight room for a while. You're not even walking for a bit. I think it will play an impact. I think we need to see a little more of him in the preseason than we're used to, just so he can get his feet on the ground before the regular season gets underway. He's a tough guy. He's a big guy. Of course, a lot of people are concerned. I think he's going to stay healthy. That's just my personal opinion. But with the surgery recovery, you risk a follow-up injury. You risk an injury to a part of his body that he hasn't been working out, like an ankle or like a hamstring, since he had that surgery. So as far as his back, I think his back is good. What you've got to weigh your concerns on is if he's going to get re-injured in another part of his body.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling, JD. That's definitely a good opinion there. Let's try to get other callers if we can, so make sure you call in. Thank you again, JD.
No problem, guys. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
All right, so, he made a lot of good points. What do you guys think about Gronk?
Obviously, there's definitely concern with his health, but I'd still take him as the first tight end. Just don't take him in the first round like he used to go in drafts like last year or 2 years ago. I'd take him in around like the 4th round.
That's exactly what I have. I don't touch him in the first 3 rounds easy, and so with me, I think he's definitely gone by then. And I don't know, you'll see in my ranking, I'm not that high on Gronkowski because it's not like your tight ends are going to make your team. This is a quarterback, I think it's a different story. This tight end, yes, he could boom or bust, but the bust potential is higher because of his injury concern. So I like guys I think it's pretty obvious, Jordan Reed, Travis Kelce, Greg Olsen, who are going to be later in the rounds, but you can still get value at your other positions like running back, receiver, quarterback. So I don't like Gronkowski. I think it's smart what JD said there about how the injuries and how you're not really working other parts of your body. And so I think that's definitely a concern as well. I just, in general, don't think he will. But fantasy football is all kind of a guess. I'm guessing that he will not stay healthy.
Yeah, for me with Gronk, I still think he's the number 1 tight end, and you draft him above the other tier 2 guys like Kelce, Olsen, and Reed, but I don't think you draft him at 20 where he's going right now in the ESPN drafts. I think you wait, and I think you kind of put him in the tier with Reed, Kelce, and Olsen because Gronk's just like a 50-50 shot whether he stays healthy or not. So, I would just wait a couple more rounds to get one of those guys instead of drafting Gronkowski at the top with a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
one thing I would say is if you do get Gronkowski, because obviously not everyone's going to pass on him, if you do end up getting Gronkowski, definitely get a backup tight end. You want to take one of those, suck up some of your depth, but you want to get a guy like Vernon Davis or a guy like Jack Doyle. Get these other productive tight ends in case he does go down, your team's not depleted at the tight end position.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
Dwayne Allen.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Get his own backup. That's good call on that.
You definitely need a backup if you're drafting Gronk. I don't think he'll stay healthy, but he's definitely my number one tight end. You got to go boom or bust here. But I don't think he'll play the entire season. But what I just said, boom or bust, I think he'll have a good year when he's healthy. Also, more weapons around the Patriots offense could open up bigger holes for him, and he won't be double-teamed as much.
Yeah, that is true that he's going to have a lot more weapons. He won't be double teamed as much. He played 8 games last year, but then the 2 before he did play 15 games in both of those seasons. So, I don't know. I think it's definitely a question. I don't have him as my number one tight end just because I think I'd take steady, consistent over boom or bust. But in general, I think I don't think you can go wrong getting Gronk, but just make sure you get a backup. I think that's pretty much where all ours. If you take him,
don't
get a backup.
draft him early.
Exactly.
Like a lot of people have in the past.
What's the earliest you're taking him? I say 4th round.
You know, fourth.
I'd say 4th as well.
I don't know. I think around 30.
Okay.
Pick 30.
Okay, yeah. So that'd be 3rd round on an 8, or 3rd round on a 10 team, and
Yeah.
middle of. Okay, cool. So let's get into another one. I mean, another guy that's had a lot of injury concern and it's about risking his health. Tyler Eifert. You got John and Dan, 2 Notre Dame fans who might be tugging on their heartstrings a little more. What do you guys think about Tyler Eifert?
He's definitely concerned like Gronk, but he's a top 3 to 5 tight end when healthy, so I will take him as a risk. Just like you guys said, with Gronk, I would make sure to have a solid backup, though.
Yeah, I agree 100% here. I like Tyler Eifert. Did good stuff at Notre Dame when he was in college. I like the Bengals offense with him in there. He needs A.J. Green to be healthy, though, because it opens up more stuff for him. Tyler Eifert is a big guy, big red zone threat. I think he'll have a good year. I have him as my number 5 tight end.
Yeah, Tyler Eifert is a touchdown machine, but he's also an injury machine. And he's really only had one season of his career that he's put it all together and had. He's been able to stay healthy and catch all those touchdowns. So in the top 80, I say no. But if the rest of the top 10 are all gone besides him, I think that he's definitely a late round sleeper that you should watch out for because if he stays healthy all season, he will catch touchdowns.
I just don't think he's going to be a sleeper. Like, I think if he does go down, yes, you take him. I think he'll get taken early because of that one monster year he had. And that's where, like, for me, I'm not touching him. If he's there at his ADP value, take him. But I'm not reaching like I think a lot of people will. And I just think because injuries are so common, where he's only had one full year, and even that he missed a game. Like, his most games, he's played 15 games. But with that, you've got to be worried about his injuries. And so it's similar to Gronkowski, where at least Gronkowski has a history of playing a full season. He's had a few of those. Eifert's never had a full season. He's never been healthy. And so that's just my concern. I mean, 2014, he played one game, had 37 yards, and then got hurt. The year next, he had that monster year, but he still only played 13 games. And last year, we know 8 games. Like, it's just, I don't know if I can go for him when, what is his ADP right now? I haven't.
Right now, 78 in ESPN.
Okay, and what is other guys like Olsen and all them? Are they a lot higher? Or?
Yeah, Olsen's 44, Kelsey's 42, and Reed is 33.
It says Kyle Rudolph 75. I'm taking Rudolph 3 picks earlier.
Yeah, and
no doubt.
Guys after him, too. I would rather have Martellus Bennett, who's right now 91, Hunter Henry, who's 118, even maybe Jason Witten at 121, instead of Tyler Eifert at 78. I would rather wait and get someone who's more consistent.
Yeah, the guy, I think another guy you mentioned is Zach Ertz. I like Zach Ertz and Hunter Henry, even O.J. Howard, Jack Doyle in those other rounds where I wouldn't go Eifert because, you just don't want to be every week wondering, okay, is this the week Eifert gets hurt, is this the week Gronk gets hurt or whatever. At tight end, you just want to have consistency, in my opinion, and that's why I like guys like Rudolph, Olsen, Kelsey, who might have a big game every now and then, but they're going to at least get you 5, 6, 7 points every single game.
Yeah.
So let's go into Hunter Henry or Antonio Gates. It's kind of that young versus old. Who's going to get the targets? What should you do in your draft? They both have value, but what do you do?
I'd take Henry over Gates. He'll get more targets, but I think you still take both. Phillip Rivers, I think he'll throw the ball enough to keep them both happy.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't take either of them, in my personal opinion, but if I had to choose one, I'd take Henry, younger guy, stay healthy, most likely, but Gates has had some injury problems lately. I'd definitely go Henry. he'll have a breakout year. Maybe he has the potential to, but I wouldn't take either of them. I have a bunch of guys out in front.
Why don't you like Henry?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Chargers offense. I just don't think.
Plus having two tight ends.
Yeah, two tight ends could take touches away from him. I just think surefire guys like maybe an O.J. Howard, a Zach Ertz, Martellus
OJ
Bennett.
Howard's not necessarily
Yeah.
a surefire.
I mean,
I
they
have
still have
Cameron
Cameron
Brate.
Brate.
I like him
Yeah,
a lot this year.
I like the Buccaneers offense though a little bit more than I do the Chargers.
That's true.
Phillip Rivers, he does throw the ball a lot, but I just don't know if he'll stay healthy. He's getting old. I'd take a sure thing if I had to draft like 10 through 13 in my tight ends. But that's just what I'd do.
When I look at it, I think Henry's going to get most of the snaps. Like, I don't think it's going to be a pitch count for either of them. I think it's going to be mostly inside the red zone. You need a fade route. Okay, you put Gates in. Yeah, so he's going to take away those touchdowns, like John said. I think that's where you're going to have concern with Hunter Henry. But I think he could have a year similar to guys I keep talking about, like Zach Ertz or Kyle Rudolph, where they just get 7-8 points for you because he's on the field most of the time. But yeah, maybe they don't get that 1, 2, 3 touchdowns. But I think he's going to be a consistent player. I like Henry just because, like I said, he's going to get more touches. But I think Gates, if you just need a boomer bust for 1 week, hey, I had Gronk, he got hurt. Okay, I guess I'll get Gates. He has a nice matchup. Then I play him. I don't touch Gates in the draft, though.
For tight ends, if I want a tight end, I want a number one guy for sure. I don't want a guy sharing a bunch of time. So that's why I'm not real high on Hunter Henry.
I do like Hunter Henry this year. I have him in my top 10. Last year, him and Antonio Gates basically split 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, about right down the middle. But Henry will take more of that, I think, in his second year. And Antonio Gates is 37 now. So I like Hunter Henry this year. I think he'll have a pretty solid year, probably getting more of that split from 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns last year, maybe 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. There's not a lot of guys that catch a lot of touchdowns at the tight end position. So I think Hunter Henry's a big touchdown candidate this year.
Okay, so let's go into some sleepers and busts. Who is your one sleeper tight end this year?
I like Martellus Bennett. Aaron Rodgers has normally made the best of what he has at tight end, and that guy has been solid in fantasy. Now he has something in Martellus Bennett. I like him.
I like two guys here. My first one is Jesse James, the tight end of Pittsburgh. They use their tight end a lot. I think he could have a great year, especially with Ben Roethlisberger and so many weapons in that offense. Look for him to have a breakout season. And my second one is Jake Butt, tight end of Denver. Coming off an injury in the bowl game with Michigan, and he's their number one tight end when he's healthy. I think Trevor Siemian, or if it's going to be Paxton Lynch, could have good connection with him and possibly have a great year because Denver uses that tight end a lot.
Yeah, I think I don't draft Jake Butt, but if
I'd wait for sure.
Yeah, but if he starts to get healthy and get some more touches, definitely somebody you should watch out for on the waiver wire. My sleeper tight end is going to be Jack Doyle. This year for the Colts, he has the tight end position all to himself, and he'll be Luck's number one red zone target. So I think he'll get quite a few touchdowns this year and have a nice year for the Colts.
Yeah, my sleeper is Cameron Brate, just for a lot of different reasons. Then one thing is that it's been talked about all training camp and all, not all training camp, like all OTAs and everything, the connection that Brate and Winston have. They developed it when they got drafted together and Brate was undrafted, but in the same year coming in as rookies and just having to work out together. I mean, Cameron Brate had a phenomenal year last year. He tied San Diego's Hunter Henry for the NFL lead among tight ends with 8 touchdown receptions and led the team second in receiving. So it's not like he was just irrelevant last year. And I know O.J. Howard came in, but I mean, you guys remember he did carve out a niche against when they had Austin Seferian-Jenkins, who's an athletic tight end, very similar to O.J. Howard. Obviously, Howard is a bigger name, but Seferian-Jenkins and Howard play the same kind of athletic, go up and get the ball type game. And head coach Dirk Cutter has talked a lot about these two tight end sets. So with all of that coming together, I love Cameron Brate this year. I just think James is going to look for him in the red zone. And now you've got Evans, Deshaun, OJ. They're going to have to respect those three. Oh, you've got Brate slipping down the seams, wide open, big touchdown or whatever. I really like what Brate's doing this year, and I think he's going to have a big year in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at O.J. Howard, he's not a for sure thing this year either. I mean, he's never had a ton of production at Alabama. It's not like he had 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns in a year. He was under 1,000 yards every year, and he's never been a sure thing. Obviously, he's a great talent, a big guy, runs fast, catches the ball well, but, I mean, he's never really proven anything a ton, and rookie tight ends usually don't get a lot of production, so Cameron Brate, somebody to watch out for. I agree.
What I liked about OJ Howard though in college is clutch factor. In big games, he really showed up. So I'm hoping he's going to have a good year with the Bucks.
Yeah, I think Brayton and Howard will limit each other, but also help each other in fantasy and NFL production. I think Howard's going to limit Brayton, Brayton's going to limit Howard just because they're there. But at the same time, if one gets hot, the other one don't forget about them type situation where, I mean, it's similar with Rob Gronkowski and Martellus Bennett, or I know Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez back in those days. Those two tight end sets are pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move into our bust tight ends now. Jason, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Dan Sleeper. I went Martellus Bennett as a bust. I mean, you saw Bennett after having a winning year and winning a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick, who's one of the greatest coaches ever, didn't want him. So that's one cause of concern is, okay, well, they didn't want him. Why? But, I mean, you're going to go away from that. Now you look at Rodgers, who's never really been a big tight end thrower. From 2008 to 2010, he only completed to tight end 20%. 2011 to 2013 went down to 19%. And then 2014 to 2016 went down to 17%. So he's already declining on his completions to go to tight ends. Yes, he's never had a guy like Martellus Bennett, like Dan said. But I don't know. I think there's a cause for concern that Bennett's now on his third team in 3 years. And why would Aaron Rodgers just now start throwing to tight ends? It's not like he lost his receiving weapons like Nelson, Cobb, and Adams are still there. Ty Montgomery is a phenomenal guy out of the backfield. Why would he turn to Martellus now when he hasn't needed to? And he's had guys like Jared Cook, who was a stud last year, and just guys like that. I just don't see Martellus Bennett getting that much production. I think he's good NFL fit, not a fantasy fit.
Yeah, I have the same exact thing here. Martellus Bennett, I just don't think he's going to have a great year. Like what Jason said, Aaron Rodgers doesn't use the tight end a lot, and there's so many other weapons in that offense. So that's why I'm going to stay away from Martellus Bennett.
I mean, Jason, you said Jared Cook was a stud last year. He was not
He
a
made
stud.
the greatest play of the season last year. And I mean,
that was a great
not
play.
fantasy wise. I just mean he was a solid stud receiver.
He fit his role.
Yeah, he fit his role really well.
But Martellus Bennett is a lot better than him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not saying that. That's what I said. There's no one that's been on the Martellus Bennett caliber, but Rodgers, he doesn't need to throw to Bennett. Why would he?
Yeah, but why start throwing to the tight end now?
Exactly.
I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought he's still with Richard Rodgers. I thought Richard Rodgers still put up some solid points. And
Yeah, and Martellus Bennett is a ton better than him.
Yes.
I mean, but it's not like Rodgers was anyone's number one. I mean, look at where Martellus is going. Martellus is going inside the top 100. No one drafted Richard Rodgers. It was a free agent pickup. And that's where I just don't. I think he's a bust for where his value is. A top 10. I don't have him as a top 10 tight end. I think he'll be in that 10. I think he'll be 15, 14 range where he'll just get a touchdown every now and then, maybe 20, 30 yards, but he's not going to be a consistent receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, my bust tight end. I got Jason Witten. He'll be more of a blocking tight end than ever this year. He's always been a blocking tight end, but I don't think he will produce as much in fantasy.
My bust tight end is going to be Tyler Eifert. He has a lot of new weapons around him and might not catch as many touchdowns, even if he does stay healthy, but I don't think he will. He has a ton of injury history, and I'm just not a huge fan of Eifert this year, especially for where he's being drafted at 78. I think there's a lot of better guys below him.
Yeah, let's go into ranking our top 10 tight ends now. Obviously, there's a little debate on where we have everybody. So, who do you guys have at number 10?
I have OJ Howard. Winston, I think, will have a breakout year, and Howard will be a huge help in that.
I have the same thing. I have OJ Howard. I just think he's a great versatile guy, can really thrive in this offense. I liked him in Alabama. Now he actually has a pro-style quarterback in Jameis Winston. Watch out.
Wow, that's high. I like it. I think he's got potential. That's high just to come off the bat. My number 10 is Austin Hooper. I think he's going to be a phenomenal use in Falcons offense. Steve Sarkisian likes to use his tight ends, and I think Hooper's going to be a good fit there.
My number 10 is going to be Tyler Eifert. I just talked about him a lot. Injury history. A lot of other guys around him now with John Ross coming in. I don't like Tyler Eifert a ton this year.
All right, I have Kyle Rudolph. Last year, it was a big fantasy year for him, his best yet, and I think he will continue it this year.
Yeah, I also have Kyle Rudolph at number 9. I think he's going to have a big year in Minnesota.
My number 9 is Zach Ertz. I really like this Eagle offense. I think he'll thrive, especially with Carson Wentz getting another year.
My number 9 is going to be Hunter Henry. Had a good year as a rookie last year for the Chargers. I think he'll take more time away from Antonio Gates this year.
Yeah, my number 8 was Zach Ertz. I think he's going to have a big year in Philly. I think everyone's going to have a good year in Philly. I think Jeffrey will be a good receiver. I think Blount's going to be a phenomenal running back. Wentz will improve, and I think Ertz is going to improve.
I have Jimmy Graham at 8. had a much better year compared to the year before, and he will finish in the top 10 this year.
At number 8, I have Kyle Rudolph, my Notre Dame boy. I just think that he will be a really good tight end this year again. Especially, they just need to find their quarterback. If it's going to be Sam Bradford or Teddy Bridgewater, Kyle Rudolph, a good blocker, all-around tight end, especially in the red zone. Good red zone threat.
I also have Kyle Rudolph, led the league, or led all tight ends in targets last year, actually. So I think he'll have another nice year for the Vikings.
At 7, I have Eifert, kind of the opposite of what you guys have said. I'm betting on he does stay healthy more than I am with Gronk, just because I just think it's kind of like a toss-up, and I think Eifert will be a good tight end. I have him at my number 7.
I also have Eifert at 7, injury concerns, but he can produce a lot when he is healthy.
My number 7 is Jimmy Graham. I think he's their number 2 receiver / tight end in the red zone, especially with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I also have Jimmy Graham at 7. Increases his role every year with the Seahawks. I think he'll have another nice year this year.
At my number 6, number 6, yeah, I've got Jimmy Graham. I think he's going to have a big year in Seattle, and I don't know. I like what Seattle's doing. I think their offense is going to improve.
I have Delaney Walker at 6. Mariota will have a breakout year and find Walker a lot during it.
Yeah, I also have Delaney Walker at 6.
I have Martellus Bennett at 6. I think he has a big year for the Packers. He'll be the number 2 or 3 target on their team this year, I think.
Okay, so now we're getting to the top 5. My 5 is Delaney Walker. I think he's going to have a big year. I think he could even go ahead of my number 4. I think he's going to have a big year down in Tennessee.
I have Martellus Bennett at 5. He's the biggest steal at tight end this year, in my opinion. That's Rodgers. I think he'll get him plenty of targets.
I don't see that at all, but my number 5 is Tyler Eifert. I'm banking on him staying healthy. I just love his style of play. Big guy, and he can just really make it downfield, and he's especially a red zone threat.
Yeah, I don't have Bennett in my top 10 either, but I've got you started your 5, right, Dylan?
Yeah, I have Delaney Walker at 5, I think. 1,000 yards the past 3, or no, he hasn't had 1,000. He had 1,000 yards in 2015. A touchdown target and one of the best targets for Tennessee.
All right, my number 4. I know it's probably going to get a lot of people mad, but I have Rob Gronkowski as my 4. I'm not buying that he stays healthy, and I don't think it's worth it as my fantasy tight end as a boomer bust potential. I like guys that I haven't mentioned yet ahead of him just because they're consistent fantasy stars. I don't like Gronkowski, so I have him at number 4.
I have Greg Olsen at 4. Last year was his 3rd straight 1,000-yard season, and he will continue to produce this year.
My number 4 is Travis Kelce. If he had a better quarterback, I'd have him higher up on this list. I'm just not a huge fan of Alex Smith, but Travis Kelce for sure will be a top 5 tight end.
My number 4 is going to be Jordan Reed. He also has injury concerns, and I think Washington will pass the ball a lot, but I don't know if he can stay on the field.
My number 3 is Travis Kelce. John, you mentioned it. When I got to my big 3 of tight ends, I put Kelce at the bottom of the big 3 just because I don't trust Alex Smith, and who knows, it might not even be Smith the whole year. It might be Patrick Mahomes time down in KC.
I have Reed at 3. I would have him at 2, but his health is a concern.
I have Greg Olsen at 3. I have him here because I think Cam Newton will have a bounce-back season.
Yeah, I also have Greg Olsen at 3. 1,000 yards the past 3 seasons and continues to produce for the Panthers.
My number 2, Jordan Reed. I don't have any worries about his injuries. They've only been minor, and they've only held him out 2, 3, 4 games. I love Jordan Reed. I've drafted him the last 3 years, and I think it's another reason to draft him again this year. I love what he's doing. Washington's going to throw the ball all over the place with no real running back besides Fat Rob and Samaje Perine. So I like Jordan Reed.
I have Kelce at 2. Led all tight ends in scoring last year and has played in all 16 games the past 3 years.
My number 2 is Jordan Reed. I just think he's a bigger threat than Terrell Pryor and Jamison Crowder, especially in the red zone. I really like Jordan Reed.
I have Travis Kelce at 2. Consistent. Last year had the most points of all fantasy tight ends, 1,125 yards, and just plays every game and really consistent out there.
My number 1 is Greg Olsen. I think he's going to have another 1,000-yard year. I think he'll get 8, 9, 10 touchdowns this year. I think the Panthers' offense is going to be back to what it was 2 years ago.
I have Gronk at 1. I think 3 out of the 4 of us do. I think he'll still have a solid season, even with the injury concern.
Yeah, my number 1 is Rob Gronkowski. I'm just going boomer bust here for number 1, especially with tight ends. I really like Gronk.
Yeah, I also have Gronk at number 1. Don't pick him at 20, but I do like him ahead of any of the other tight ends available.
All right, so that'll wrap it up, guys. You guys all have Gronk at number 1. I'm not as high on Gronk, but yeah, definitely a lot of good stuff here on the tight ends. Yesterday we put out the SEC, so make sure you check out that. It was a good one. Lots of arguments and yelling, and it was just a great time. And then tomorrow we've got the college football playoff one, where we're talking about really just the college football season as a whole. We have who's going to be in the college football playoff. We got Heisman. We got a lot of good stuff coming. So make sure you watch that tomorrow and check out the article, which you're going to have the tight ends on WordPress tonight. So make sure you check that out as well.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening, and if you want to see the rest of our fantasy football content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you want to see all of our college football previews, make sure you check out that playlist. Follow us on Twitter and vote in our polls. The link is in the description for that. So thank you guys for listening, and we will see you tomorrow.